It's not often, it's also not incredibly uncommon, but it's not often that I completely change my mind about a pair of sneakers when I get it in hand. And this shoe is a perfect example of me putting my foot in my mouth because I talk a bunch of trash about a shoe, and then I actually get it in hand and realize, wow, this shoe is awesome. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today I'm reviewing the upcoming Maniere Air Jordan 12. Seriously, I took a complete 180 when I pulled this shoe out of the box and realized how nice the materials are, how good the color blocking actually is, and even though we don't know the full story behind this sneaker yet because the release of this shoe is still like 2 months out, now having the shoe in hand, you start to understand why some of the details on this shoe are the way that they are, and looking at some of the packaging, you start to piece everything together, and you realize that this shoe is actually an homage to a lot of different things. That really makes me like this shoe a lot more than I thought I was going to. Before we dive into that though, if you have not yet entered my giveaway for the upcoming Air Jordan 3 White Cement Reimagined, you definitely should. All you need to do is subscribe to the APTHCRY YouTube channel, which is linked in the top of the description below. This shoe is a must-have in 2023 if you're a fan of Air Jordan sneakers. This is probably one of the most hyped up releases of the year, and if you want a chance to grab a pair of these for free in your size, make sure to click the link in the top of the description below. Subscribe to the APTHCRY YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and maybe even grab some pieces from our website, like the brand new Sneaker Heaven collection, which just dropped this Saturday. Everything is still available, however in limited quantities, so if you guys want to grab any of the stuff from the collection, again, click that link in the top of the description below. And I know it's obvious that I love making YouTube videos because that's my full-time job, that's what I'm doing right now, but this second channel, this APTHCRY YouTube channel, is such a blast for me because it's sort of a behind-the-scenes look at the brand that I co-founded, APTHCRY, my sock brand, and it gives you guys a really cool insight into what we do on a daily basis, and making these videos has been so much fun. With that being said, let's get back into the review. So if you're trying to grab a pair of the upcoming Maniere Air Jordan 12s, they release in 2 different colorways, this black and burgundy colorway, and there's also a white and burgundy colorway dropping as well. They both release officially on March 2nd for a retail price of $225. Now something that I just learned recently about this release is that this shoe is actually like the Maniere Air Jordan 3s in that this shoe is technically a women's exclusive, however it drops in extended sizing, so people like myself, men with slightly larger feet, that's actually not me because I have size 9 feet, but men with slightly larger feet can grab a pair of these for themselves. However, the resale price of these shoes, because there's probably less pairs of the larger sizes, will be inflated. However, if you want to grab a pair of these sneakers or any of the other Maniere Air Jordan sneakers that have dropped over the years, I've made sure to leave a link to those shoes in the YouTube shopping tab, which if you're watching on desktop is below the video, and if you're watching on mobile is on the screen. But before we get any deeper into the sneaker itself, let's first take a look at the box. So as with every other Maniere Air Jordan collaboration, this box comes with a clear sleeve, which features a repeating pattern of Maniere's logo. It's very similar to all of the other sleeves that we've gotten in all of the previous Maniere Air Jordan sneakers. However, underneath the sleeve, you get a box that is very similar to the OG Air Jordan 12 box. On the top of the box, you've got your natural cardboard with the Jumpman in black. On the sides of the box, you've got orange and black and some printing on the back of the box. On the front of the box, you've got the size tag. Like I said, this is a women's exclusive, so the top number up there is the women's size, and the number below that is the men's size. Obviously, I went with the size 9, which is my true size 9 in men's, and the official colorway of this shoe is black burgundy crush. Now, obviously, because this is a collaboration sneaker, in addition to the Maniere logo being on the sleeve, you also have the same logo right there on the front of the box. It's not the same logo, but it's Maniere's logo printed next to the Jumpman logo. And then a detail that I absolutely love is that on the inside of the top of the box, you've got this image of Michael Jordan during the flu game with the Maniere logo on top of it. Which actually, getting back into the sneakers, makes a lot more sense as to why this color blocking is the way that it is. At first glance, you might say, that shoe looks a lot like a desaturated flu game. Well, now that you see the inside of the top of the box, you might realize that this shoe is inspired by the flu game 12s, one of the original colorways of the sneaker and one of the most popular. Now, obviously, the materials used on these 2 shoes are different. You've got a lot of nubuck and suede on the Maniere 12s and a bunch of leather on the standard flu game 12s, and the colors are a little bit different as well. You've got primarily burgundy on the Maniere 12s, and then you've got bright red on the flu game 12s, but you can definitely see the inspiration from the flu games on this colorway. And actually, personally, the flu game 12s are by far my favorite pair of Air Jordan 12s, so it's nice to see that inspiration on a really great upcoming collaboration. So besides the obvious flu game inspiration on this collaboration, I would assume, like most other Air Jordan Maniere collaborations, this shoe is also inspired and defined by some other things. Now again, because we are pretty much 2 months out from the release of this shoe, we don't know exactly what those inspirations are yet because they haven't come out and said that yet. However, if you look at some of the inspirations for some of the previous Maniere sneakers, it's probably the black and brown leaders that have helped define America and the American people. And that's something that I've always loved about Maniere's collaborations. It's not just a colorway on the shoe, there's always a deeper meaning behind the sneaker. Like the Air Jordan 3s, the first Maniere Air Jordan, that shoe was inspired by James Whitner owner's mother, and as someone who had a very special connection with their mother, as I'm sure most of you did as well, it really means a lot to me to be able to wear a shoe that honors her in some way. And so while this shoe, yes, looks incredible, I'm sure there's a story behind this sneaker that makes it that much more special than it already is. Now let's get into the materials and make up this pair of Maniere Air Jordan 12s. And starting off in the toe of the sneaker, you've got this really nice, smooth black nubuck. And just like with all the other Maniere collaborations, the materials used on this shoe are amazing. Yes, the shoe is expensive at $225, but in my opinion, it's absolutely worth it for the quality of materials that you get, which is far beyond anything that you get on standard Air Jordan sneakers, or at least that's how it feels. Now this nubuck isn't really a true black, it's more of a very dark charcoal gray, and you can really start to notice that when you slide your hand back and forth on the nubuck and see some of the lighter colors that come out when you swipe the material back and forth. Again, it's a super premium feeling material. Nubuck is some of the nicer leather that you can find, and it looks really great on this sneaker. It actually reminds me a lot of the PSNY 12s from back in, I think 2015. That shoe was like an all gray nubuck Air Jordan 12, and I absolutely love the way that sneaker looked, and this shoe really reminds me of that a lot. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I love this collaboration so much, because it reminds me of a collaboration that back in 2015 I was not able to get my hands on, and so it's nice to be able to get a pair that reminds me of that pair. And actually, seeing this pair in hand now, I might actually even like this colorway better than that colorway. But continuing back on the shoe to the mudguard, you get to this really beautiful burgundy suede material, which I've got to say really elevates the look of this shoe. Obviously, when compared to the Flu Game 12s, it's a completely different material. It doesn't have the sort of snakeskin texture or whatever reptilian texture that is on the Flu Game 12s, but it really gives this shoe a much more premium feel, a much more, like I said, elevated feel. And the suede itself is super hairy and feels really nice to the touch, and really contrasts the black nubuck on the upper of the shoe really nicely. Even though the tones of these two colors are pretty similar, it does provide a nice contrast because of the actual texture of the material itself. Now obviously the mudguard on the lateral side of the shoe is different than the mudguard on the medial side of the shoe. The shoe itself is actually asymmetric, which I really like. I think the Air Jordan 12, while it's not my favorite Air Jordan silhouette of all time because it feels like a boot when you're wearing it, I do think it's a very nicely designed sneaker, and when paired with a beautiful colorway like this, it just works so well. And yeah, I know I've talked trash about this shoe in the past, but again, seeing this shoe in hand, wow, this shoe is incredible. Do I like it as much as the 3s or the 2s or the 4s? Maybe not. In my opinion, this is sort of in the same league as the 1s, which definitely wasn't a bad shoe, but it's definitely not my favorite Maniere collaboration. But again, all of these shoes in the Maniere Air Jordan collaboration family are all so well done. They're kind of in a league of their own. They're kind of just like elevated above all of the other Air Jordan sneakers that usually release. But then moving up on the shoe, you get to these thin black wax laces, which provide a nice contrast with the upper of the shoe because of the wax finish. Unfortunately, inside the box, you do not get a second set of laces, so if you don't like these black wax laces, you're gonna have to buy a second set of laces. I personally think they look great. I don't know why you'd want to change them, but hey, if you do, unfortunately, you're gonna have to buy a set of laces, but that's totally okay in my opinion because these look great. Then underneath the laces, you get to this nubuck tongue that on the right shoe has the word 2 embroidered into it, and on the left shoe has the word 3 embroidered into it, obviously for 2-3-23, Michael Jordan's number. And then at the top of the tongue, you've got these really nice metal logos. On the right shoe, you've got a metal Jumpman, and on the left shoe, you've got a metal Maniere logo. It's details like this that really make this shoe feel that much more premium, and we're going to talk about a couple more of those details later on in the review, but this is just one of the things that makes this shoe feel like it's actually worth 225 bucks. Or more realistically, probably whatever resale ends up being, because this shoe is definitely going to sell out. On either side of the tongue, you've got these metal lace eyelets that both feature the Jumpman logo and the Maniere logo, and then moving inside the sneaker, you get to this beautiful black quilted sock liner. Now, I think this is a detail that every single Maniere Air Jordan collaboration has had, and it's definitely a detail that, again, makes the shoe feel more premium, makes it feel like a more expensive sneaker than a standard pair of Air Jordan 1s. Rounding off the inside of the sneaker, you've got a burgundy insole with the Maniere logo repeated across it, and then the Jumpman logo on the heel in white. In terms of sizing, the Maniere 12s do seem to come true to size. Like I said, I grabbed a men's 9 in this shoe, and it fit me just fine. Again, this shoe is technically a women's release, so because of that, the sizing might be a little bit interesting for some people. Like, you gotta make sure you do the math correctly. A men's size is technically a size and a half smaller than a women's size, at least in numbers. So this shoe is a size 9 men's, but in a women's, it's a size 10 and a half. So keep that in mind when you're buying this shoe. Make sure to not accidentally buy the women's size thinking it's a men's size or vice versa. But assuming you get all that figured out, the shoe does seem to fit true to size. However, as I always suggest, if you have the chance to try this shoe on first before you buy it, make sure to do that to make sure that you're grabbing the right size for you. Continuing back on the lateral side of the sneaker to the midfoot, you get to this sort of dark bronze plastic detail with the word Jumpman debossed into it. On the medial side, you have a similar detail except without the Jumpman word. wording. Then moving even farther back in the shoe towards the heel, you get some more of this black nubuck. And if you guys didn't know, the inspiration behind the Air Jordan 12 silhouette itself is actually the Japanese rising sun. So that's why the 12 has these stitch lines radiating out from the midfoot of the sneaker. Continuing around to the heel of the shoe, you've got this black pull tab with white text. On the right shoe, it says Maniere, quality products inspired by culture. And on the left shoe, it says Jumpman. Oh, and also quality inspired by the greatest player ever. I forgot to mention that, but that's what it says on the left shoe. It's slightly different. Then moving down on the shoe, you get to this tonal burgundy midsole, accented by this black hit towards the heel. And finally moving to the bottom of the sneaker, you've got this dark burgundy rubber outsole, accented by these white hits on the forefoot and on the heel. Of course, you got the Jumpman in white right there on the toe. And in the center of the midfoot, you've got this white and black carbon fiber plate. So like I said at the beginning of the video, this shoe has absolutely changed my mind. This was a shoe that when I first saw images of it, I was like, that shoe sucks. It's so boring, it's so simple, it's not that exciting. The colorway is just too muddled. But when you hold this shoe in your hand, you start to notice all the premium materials that make up this shoe, all of the little details that tie this shoe together, and the inspiration behind this shoe really makes this shoe a lot deeper and a lot more interesting than I initially thought. And while sure, this sneaker may not be sneaker of the year for a lot of people, but I genuinely think this is probably going to be one of the best collaborations to drop all year. And if you're a fan of Maniere and you're a fan of Jordan brand, this is definitely a shoe that you should be on the lookout for. But hey, I would love to know your thoughts on the Maniere Air Jordan 12, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.